always nice to have a quiet house after the kids go to bed, especially if they've been a little cranky. This is numero uno section of Halloween costume in 2020. So this year we are doing a Mandalorian theme. Brian will be the Mando. I will be Cara Dune. Diane will be a stormtrooper, and Eliza will be Baby Yoda. So let me show you what we have so far that we're working with. So Cara Dune has several leather accents to her outfit. I started today working on the belts, which is a really cool thing. I should have videoed about how to make a rounded belt. When you look up Cara Dune, you can find a tutorial on how to make a rounded belt. So it's going to be actually a turquoise belt out of faux leather that has ribs in it, and I'm going to try a couple different things to figure out how to do the ribbing part. But this is, I finally got spray paint today, and it was a little sticky afterwards, but it sticks pretty, like it doesn't rub off, and I just baby powdered this piece and it works perfect. I didn't want to buy two different kinds of leather, so I just bought this from Walmart. And then there are some black leather accents and then the turquoise stuff. So it's gauntlets and belt that I get to make teal. I'm going to probably do a little lighter on the spray paint so it looks a little more worn. I mean, in the corner you can see where I held it with my thumb, it looks a little more worn out, which is kind of the look I'm going for. So a light spray painting on those. And then I started sewing my belt. I did a really simple stitch around the edges, and then I'm going through and stitching over it again. So the outer edges I'm going to cover with tape when I spray paint it, so they'll still be black, and then I'll spray paint the center, and then I'm going to try an iron with pieces of wire and protective tinfoil to try to add ribbing to one side of this. But it has the rounded end and then a non-rounded end for the other side. I did one piece too short, so it's going to be kind of funky underneath, but no one will see it, and it's just a costume. I don't have the right needle for my sewing machine, and I have a cheap sewing machine, so I was afraid of breaking it. But I did have a tri-tip hand needle, so that's what I'm using. It actually is really nice for working with faux leather. Punches through it like butter. Okay, maybe not butter, but like a soft steak. I am just using a pair of jeans for her pants because I couldn't find turquoise pants for cheap in the right size. And then she has some riding accents on the side of her legs, and then a crop top that's made out of a textured material. I didn't want to go find a textured material and spend $30 on material, so we have this old crib netting that doesn't quite fit our crib correctly. It was given to me for free, so I was like, hey, that's a textured material, let's see if it'll work. And looked up best spray paints for this material and tested out a spray paint. So it gives it a little more stiffness, which is nice, and doesn't rub off easily. I'm a little concerned about it rubbing off, so I might see if I can figure out a clear coat of some sort to put over it. But that should work well for making it black. I'm going to cut and sew it and then spray paint it and then do a soft stitch onto my pants so that I can still easily undo it and use those pants for other days. Then for Baby Yoda, I was having a really hard time finding the right color of green, but I found one in a tank top at Walmart. So I've read through several tutorials on how to make a Yoda head. One of them is to use a baby hood that fits your child, and then kind of use that as a guide for the size, which is what I'm going to do so that I can tie it around her chin. And then for ears, I'm going to use felt in between this fabric so that it has a little more stiffness to it. And I'll be following a tutorial I found for that, so that'll be fun. Other than the sewing pieces, we have to still find material for Yoda's shawl type thing, cloak, whatever you call it, parka. We still have to get black clothes for Diane. She has pants, but not a shirt. And Brian needs gray pants. Other than those, big thing that we're doing is armor. So we're gonna do two ways of making armor. The first is using some UVA foam, which Brian has 1/4-inch thick stuff out in the shed that we'll just use for simple pieces like my collar piece and the back piece, and even like the arm pieces won't be hard. So she has a thigh piece too. But for things like chest pieces and shoulders and helmets that are a lot more rounded and a lot harder to work with, we are 3D printing them. Look at it! This is a stormtrooper helmet. Well, 60% of a stormtrooper helmet. See, they have supports down here to help with the top part. We turned it upside down because that was easier than doing it right side up. Used less plastic. Coolio. This is taking 6 days to make. We're really hoping it doesn't break. Fail, as it's called. Last but not least is hair for Cara Dune. She has an asymmetrical cut where half of it is shaved. I actually think I did this on the wrong side. Oh well, I'm gonna be backwards. That's funny to realize right now. This is a cheap wig from Walmart. It's more curly than I would like, and I've done a couple of tests to try to make it less curly. I've used some hot water. I've tried blow drying it, but it's hard. I also don't have one of those little model heads to put it on, so it's hard to work with it. We've decided I'm going to put a bunch of Brian's like hair tack stuff in it just to get rid of some of the curl and make it look more tacky like Cara Dune's, and then I just pinned it on this side. There's a lot of netting between sets of hair on here, so if I tried to shave it short, it would just look really dumb. I will have a little bit of fringe here on the side that will be showing where the wig is pinned up, so I will have to do something to color that, whether it's shoe polish as I saw online or the hair wax, something that is definitely temporary, because I do not want to dye my hair. I'm just like that. I'm not a huge person into coloring my hair because I like my color. I finished hand sewing the belt. Today I am putting ribs in it, trying to use heat so I don't have to sew all of it. I've tried a couple of things to make it faster, but overall you just don't get as good of a result. This is using a single wire. This was trying to use the 3-block here, and there's a couple things on the back that just didn't work. The thing I looked at that gave me the idea to do heat was a little article about how to distress faux leather. And I talked about putting patterns in it using metallic objects and tinfoil, but my wire is too thin to do the tinfoil because you just get the tinfoil impressions and very little wire impression, which is kind of what happened at the beginning. But it's more pressed over there and shiny because of that. And I don't want that look. So it's going to be a longer process than I thought because I'm going to have to do it wire by wire by wire. It's a nice evening. The kids are playing outside. I'm about a quarter of the way through. It's done! Got all the ribbing done, and it only took about an hour. So that's all done, and it actually does add a lot to the style of it. So I'm excited. This was my finished setup that helped move things faster, so I had this lean against the bottom and this against the top, and then it would heat it up and I could alternate between the two, and it sped out almost twice as fast, which was really nice. Now I gotta tape the edges and spray paint the center. What are you guys doing? Is sawdust fun to play in? Uh-huh. Looks like Diane is picking up sawdust, pouring it in the bowl, and then they're covering each other with it. I think this calls for a change of clothes after we get done. My belt is done! These are actually the pants I'm going to use because I couldn't find turquoise pants. I have to show. She's okay. This is what happens when you get lost in a project. And you know they're in the backyard, but you don't look closely. We're going to have to give you a bath. she's had a blast. But she is absolutely dirty. Oh, to be a kid.